It's space weather! Got the sun on 171 angstroms. Sunspot 2729 with its beta class magnetic fields. And another active region forming to the north. Looks like it's breaking back down, but it's something. It's a feature during a solar minimum. How do you like that? Let's look at 304 angstroms. Some plasma filaments. Nothing too crazy. Let's let that one play through again. It looks like Gumby's lizard friend Prickle. Okay. Moving on. Here's your magnetic lines. Looking right in that coronal hole. You can see some dense fields coming out of the sunspot and the active region. And let's look at the data to check on that magnetic connection and so on. So we'll head to spaceweathernews.com. Hey, thanks, Ben Davidson. We did have another X-ray flare late last night. That was actually the biggest one yet. Maybe not quite as high power as the previous one, but probably more total energy. And the BTBZ is converging a bit. Phi angle is still showing a weak, choppy signal. Coronal hole connection must still be there. Coronal hole wind speed dropping down to about 400 kilometers per second. Solar wind density down to about maybe 4 or 5 protons per cubic centimeter. So pretty weak. Magnetometer's got some spikes in it in the past few hours. We're looking for that to go back up. Looks like it's probably about at its bottom. It usually does around that time, as you can see from the graph. By the way, these N's and M's, those are the midnight and noon local times for the satellites. And remember, the GOES magnetometer is measuring this in the ionosphere. All right. KP index is up to 2, which is nice because we don't have to give you any cosmic ray flux alert. Electron flux is probably about done dipping, and we're gonna get a little smoother wave going here, I think. No significant charging hazards. A little bit of charging hazard, but nothing too major. And the F2 layer is looking pretty anomalous. It's actually quite discharged at the high end, and at the low end, I mean, here's your South Atlantic anomaly. I mean, you got this big anomaly over Greenland and Iceland. So that's looking choppy. That should be charging up, especially with the solar wind as high as it is. So, yeah, there's your F2 layer. And there's your auroral forecast. Now we'd like to we're gonna make this into our 500th episode celebration thing here. We're gonna do some stuff that we don't normally do. First of all, we're gonna go to our own channel, and we're gonna shout out our officially endorsed channels again. Please check these all out if you haven't yet. Sky Scholar, hosted by Pierre-Marie Robitaille, professor of radiology at Ohio State University. He will tell you all kinds of in-depth things about thermodynamics, about astronomy, cosmology. And Dr. Robitaille has come up with one of the most legitimate theories of the sun's makeup. Please watch. And that is the liquid metallic hydrogen model of the sun. Next is Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Now, Oppenheimer Ranch Project, hosted by Diamond, aka David Moriello. It's a great channel, high entertainment value, and he's having fun talking about the grand solar minimum, and he's inspiring people like us to do things like this. Whoops. Give you a little progress here. There's our indoor tomato. Check it out. Let's blow that up. There's our indoor tomato. And over here, you've got our indoor algae tank. Growing algae. And here's the goldfish. And there's a pleco. There's Jaws. There's Phelps. And there's James. Thanks, Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Viewers, if you haven't checked this channel out, please do. Daily videos, sometimes more than one. Suspicious Observers, hosted by Ben Davidson. Channel focuses on space weather, the sun, and astronomy topics. Interested in the electric universe. And also hosting Observing the Frontier in February of 2019. I think tickets are still available. Check out Suspicious Observers if you haven't. Daily updates also. Next on the list, David Schlottower, meteorologist. He's going to cover mainly U.S. weather. Also some stuff out in the oceans. Wherever the major stuff is happening, he is interested and enthusiastic about it. And he will be doing, daily forecasts. If there's a hurricane or something, he'll do live streams. Great channel, great meteorologist. David Schlottower, please subscribe. Lastly, we've got ADAPT 2030. Whoops, we clicked on the wrong thing. We got ADAPT 2030, hosted by David Devine. Is interested in all subjects climate related. One of the leading proponents of the idea, the correct idea, that CO2 has nothing to do with climate change. We're going to get into the weeds on that a little bit later, too. Thanks for plugging us, David. You're part of the reason that we have so many subscribers. So we appreciate that. ADAPT 2030. Subscribe to the channel now. In observance of getting 500 plus subscribers so quickly that we got to 700 before we could make a hey, thanks subscribers for 500 subscribers video, we'll just do it at 700 and we'll celebrate 500 and 700 at the same time. So let's just scroll down here. Oh, I don't know. Let's just find a random video. There we go. Just play that. All right. Check out some comments. I didn't plan this, by the way. These I just grabbed this out of nowhere. Let's see. Okay, let's mute me. I don't want to hear me rant about space. And what do we got? Let's see. All right. Somebody talking about CO2 being geoengineered into the atmosphere. People talking about X-ray spike. More suggestions of geoengineering occurring. What else do we have? Let's see if we can find some classic comments here. How about incoming coronal hole magnetic field? Let's see what we got. Any comments? Any comments? Okay. The coronal hole is triangular shaped. Okay. Somebody correcting me on CO2 versus carbon monoxide. That was my mistake. Explaining what a coronal hole is. Yeah. Anyway, thanks again, subscribers. Let's ixnay that segment and move on to the latest earthquakes, for which we had to head to usgs.gov because global incident map does not go back far enough. So it's about 9 o'clock UMT right now. Let's go back 8 hours. All right, so Indonesia got a 5.5 at 10 kilometers. Mayotte, 4.8. Indonesia, 4.5 at depth, so they stay on alert for a 5. 4.9 at Fiji near the surface. New Caledonia still getting hit, a 5 in central Peru. 4.8 in Chile. New Caledonia. New Caledonia is a spot. There's something going on. New Caledonia. I mean, for those of you who weren't, who haven't been watching recently, I mean, that's a major earthquake swarm there. There was a small tsunami. They had a 7.5 a couple of days ago. Was that yesterday? Whatever day it was. Let's go to Solar Ham to look at Sunspot 2729. There's your magnetometer. You can see the mixing fields, making it a beta class. Let's just talk about the classes of sunspots real quick for a quick moment. As we look at the close-ups here, you can see there is some mixing, and it is indeed a beta class sunspot group. And let's just take a look at, what are you doing to us, Solar Ham? I wanted to just take a look at definitions of sunspots. Where the heck is it? Okay, here we are. So for those of you who are not aware of sunspot classifications, they are classified by their magnetic fields. And I can never remember this all, so if you got an alpha, that's a single polarity sunspot. A beta, you got both polarities. And then if you have a gamma, you have atypical mixing, which we don't really have right now. And then a beta gamma is when you have mixture of polarities in a dominantly bipolar configuration. And then if you have a delta addition, it's an opposite polarity umbra within a single penumbra. And then there's beta, delta, and these are increasing levels of potential power for the sunspots, and that's why we refer to them as that. This weak beta sunspot is only the second weakest type. So, about sunspots, let's cover some stock market stuff. Stocks, bonds, commodities. So, Ascala Partners is saying underweight equities is the right place to be. Now, we've been saying this for the last year, on this channel at least. So the Dow Jones was down 800 points yesterday, a 3.1 cent decline. The NASDAQ a 3.8% decline, and the S&P a 3.24% decline. Not good for U.S. equity holders. Bond yields are all down, indicating buying in the bond market. I wouldn't hide in bonds. Crazy day in the market. Oil went down also. Gold went down. Silver went down. Silver's still a buying opportunity. Silver looks really attractive at these levels. And the US dollar went up, which pretty much brings all the rest of the currency down as they're compared to the US dollar. Enough of that. And let's look at a nonsensical article from phys.org. Just came out yesterday. Oh boy. Greenland's ice sheet melt off the charts compared with last 4 centuries. Oh no! Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Large rivers form on the surface. Oh, jeez. By the way, doesn't it feel cold right now? Okay, anyway. Turns out that surface melting across Greenland's mile-thick ice sheet began increasing in the mid-19th century and then ramped up dramatically during the 20th and 21st centuries, showing no signs of abating. Whew! Boy, oh boy, I'm scared. Anyway, we'll leave links to the article below so you can read for yourself about the core samples. I mean, they're using, quote, sophisticated and, quote, climate models. And, I mean, they're talking about the sea level could rise, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter in the next century or something like that. So we were interested in that, so we figured we'd look up some data regarding sea ice thickness and volume. You know, if it's melting on Greenland, it's the whole Arctic might be melting, right? We better check on that. And, yeah, we see spots around the Greenland coast. The thickest ice in the whole Arctic is on the Greenland coast right there. I mean, that's 5 meters thick. All that red around Greenland is 4.5 meters thick. And if you look at the black line here, that's where we are currently. Right in the right near the 2004 to 2013 average. So I don't know why they're coming out with this article. It's a stupid article. Let's look at Greenland itself from the Danish Meteorological Institute. And, I don't know about you, but it looks like Greenland is gaining ice almost everywhere. There's the graph. I mean, it just had a recent totally steep increase there. And so I don't know what they're talking, except that it's nonsense. Now, for all you people out there who are scared of the Large Hadron Collider, I guess it's a combination of good news and bad news. The collider is going to shut down for 2 years. Now, keep in mind, it's going to be even more powerful when it starts back up. Yeah. So it's shut down for 2 years. You got 2 years before the Large Hadron Collider creates a black hole, something that doesn't really exist, and sucks the Earth in and does all kinds of work in ways that can't be done according to the laws of thermodynamics. So anyway, don't worry about the Large Hadron Collider. But remember, it's not running for the next 2 years, so don't tell us that it's causing coronal mass ejections, because it can't do that anyway. Next article, also from phys.org, we got an ultraluminous X-ray source discovered in the galaxy M86. Here it is in visible, and here it is in X-ray. It's a massive object. It's about 62,000 light years away from the galaxy's center. Some people would like to say it's a black hole. We'll just say it's a X-ray source. Nonetheless, though, it is an interesting thing because it's not in the core of the galaxy. They're estimating the mass at, well, I don't know, but I'll leave the link to the article there. Have a look. Next, another article from phys.org, and another nonsensical article. Strong growth in global CO2 emissions expected for 2018. Well, that's grounds for celebration, people. Increase your carbon footprint. You might be able to back off some of the global cooling. Just kidding. Carbon dioxide has nothing to do with the climate. And we're going to show you some actual data here. 2 little data points that you kind of don't see often enough. So we're hoping emissions rise more than 2%, as that'll help plants grow. And it's not going to have any effect on the temperature, especially with volcanoes going off all around the world constantly, emitting ridiculous amounts of CO2. So yeah, it's this article is basically saying that the planet's going to heat up. It's going to be caused by you. They don't study radio astronomy. They don't understand solar forcing. They add CO2 to their stupid models, which suggest that, oh my gosh, despite rapid growth in low-carbon technologies such as solar and wind power, electric vehicles, and batteries, not nearly enough is being done to support policies that limit the amount of carbon dioxide that is put into the atmosphere. No thanks. No carbon taxes. I don't think France likes them. So let's move on. Let's look at the global temperature variation over the last 10,000 years. At the end of the last ice age, you notice it's actually much colder than it was 3,500 years ago during the Minoan warm period. And it was significantly cooler than that during the Roman, and significantly cooler than that during the medieval, and significantly cooler than that during our current quote warm end quote period. Just take a look at that graph, let it sink in, and keep in mind that human carbon emissions began, right here? That part of the graph? So yeah, I don't think that's enough data. Well, let's look at a little more data. How about 500 million years of data? Here's your graph. There you go. CO2, temperature. If you think those correlate, I don't know. If you think those correlate, don't take a statistics class because you won't pass. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. When we get to 1,000 viewers, we're going to do a special, a live special, something, I don't know. We'll plan something out. We expect to reach 1,000 soon. So thanks again, everybody. Please don't forget to like and subscribe the videos if you haven't done so yet. And we'll be doing more interesting astronomy subjects in the future. Stay strong out there, people. Remember, when you're staring at Sunspot 2729, don't drink. And if you drink, wonder why your video doesn't load. When you're staring at Sunspot 20... Oh yes, there you have it. Virtually unedited. Let's try it again. When you're staring at 20 spot... Let's try it yet again. When you're staring at Sunspot 2729, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sunspot anyway. Preferably in 171 angstroms.